guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kirsty. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. I spent last night at a customer. I had a really tough day yesterday, so I didn't record. I don't think I recorded much, so I'll have to go back and look. I got up early, went and delivered my load that was like 140 miles away or so, and I don't usually have pre-plans when I deliver in the morning. The reason being is that my fleet manager would have to pre-plan me the day before. And at the end of the day, there's not really a good selection of loads. They're usually short loads that nobody else wanted, really. And, you know, I mean, they still have to get done. But since I'm not getting done until the morning, I'm not delivered until the morning, he'll wait for me to deliver. He'll wait for the morning to give me a pre-plan. Usually I'll be sitting in a door and he'll give me a load, or I'll be on my way to go fuel the reefer and get the washout done, and then as I'm sitting there doing that, then I get the new load assignment. Yesterday I really wasn't close to anything, so I didn't want to drive too far. I went to a rest area and I sat there for maybe an hour and decided I was going to try to clean the truck and like sort everything out. You know, every time I try to clean and organize, I make a bigger mess. So when I was in Springfield a couple weeks ago, I took everything off the truck and I started throwing stuff out. It was after Goofball died, so I donated all my kitty litter and cat food and cat supplies and stuff, and that took a lot of stuff off the truck and made a lot more room in the cabinets. But then I didn't really have the time. Well, I didn't take the time, not that I didn't have the time, I didn't take the time to really organize into different types of bins and things like that. It's one thing to have like a junk drawer when you are on a truck by yourself, but since my boyfriend Gary, hi Gary, since he's coming in a couple weeks, it would be much easier. And what's funny is when I had students on the truck, I was usually pretty organized, but I think that's because I need to have certain things I need to have in certain places. I need to have my lock down here in my door, and as soon as somebody starts moving my lock, then I get upset. So I ripped everything apart and I was throwing trash bags of stuff out, like I don't need this anymore. And that's something that I think happens to truckers, is that you get out on the road and then you're gonna pick somebody up, so you start throwing things away, and then whether, like, after you get rid of that person, that sounds terrible, after that person upgrades and leaves your truck, or you split up or whatever, then you're running solo, and then you realize, hey, I need this, so then you go buy more. But it wasn't an every week thing, and so, you know, I can make 16, 17, 18, 1900 solo, so why would I want to put up with somebody has an attitude or sharing my truck with somebody that really doesn't appreciate it? Instead of getting me a load, Greedy One Kenobi told me to go pick up an empty trailer that was damaged, and the customer refused to load it. So he told me that I was going to have to go take it and drop it off at a repair shop. So I was like, okay. So I had to go get washed, get fueled, and being in Michigan after what is obviously a pretty bad snowstorm, I wasn't here, yay. But the aftermath sometimes of the storms can be bad. Like the parking lots and the truck stop. There's a Flying J near Indiana, that froze, and then it started to melt, and then it refroze, and then it started to melt, so it refroze. So it was not ice and snow packed in together. It was like solid ice, and you could tell it was a good 1.5 inches of solid ice, and it was rippled and bumpy, like it looked like a wave, very violent wavy ocean. That's what it looked like. And trucks were getting stuck in ice. Other full trucks with their trailers, you know, were trying to pull them, and as they're trying to pull each other, people are trying to get out of the fuel lane and there's no place to go because you're being blocked in, and then other people are trying to swing around you, well, swing around me, because they don't know what's going on in front of me and they have no patience whatsoever. And then the next thing you know, this one guy crashed into another guy that was coming like forward. They had a head-on collision because the guy next to the guy that was behind me didn't want to wait a couple minutes to see what was going to happen, or for me going slow. And you know, as I was going forward, these people are stuck in ice, and all of a sudden I start drifting sideways, and I was going slow, like under 5 miles per hour, and this guy behind me, I clocked him on my radar going 15. You know, 15 in a truck stop, 17 in a truck stop, that's way too fast. It's way too fast, and it's really dangerous when you're on ice and snow like that. You know, and those are the kinds of people that cause accidents. And I've said before in another video, in the last video, I don't take unnecessary risks. I just don't do that. I don't know how to use my freaking dash cam. I bought a really, I guess it's nice, I don't know. People online said it was nice. It was expensive. But I bought a dash cam, and I don't know how to use it. I tried to get it to like send stuff through my Wi-Fi on my phone. I don't know, maybe one of you guys can teach me how to use my dash cam. Make a video. I start up the reefer and everything's fine, and then I wound up going and dropping that off. Well, I went and got washed out. When I got washed out, the parking lot for the washout place was completely full of ice, and it's a really tight turn, and the walls are narrow. Okay, when you're brand new, it's really, really scary, but when you're on ice sliding, it doesn't matter how long you've been out here driving, it's scary. And some of them have these yellow poles to guide you going in, and those poles weren't good today. They just weren't good. Well, yesterday. They weren't helpful at all. They were a pain in the neck. And because I kept trying to go forward and go back and go forward and go back to get off the ice, my transmission air kept dying. Every time you're, not only do our brakes use air, but our transmissions, the automated auto shift transmissions. And auto shift is actually a trademark, so, you know, they're known as AMTs, automated manual transmissions, because they're not really automatics. But anyway, it kept losing air. It uses the air to shift the truck, to shift the transmission. So from going back and going forward, going back and going forward, I had to sit and then let the air build up, and then try to get back off the ice, and then sit and let the air build up. So that was really frustrating, and every time I moved, there was a possibility that I was going to slide into the wall of the washout. You know, so you have to be really, really careful. And I don't even think it had anything to do with experience or anything. I just think it was pure luck I didn't hit that wall. But so, oh, and then I got lost too because the washout apparently moved. So on Google and on the GPS, it was at the old location. When I got to the old location, it is now some kind of a shipper receiver that has docks, and it was really made for day cabs. It was small. So I got back there and I'm like, oh my God, like maybe if I was in a lightweight, it would have been okay, but it was really a pain in the neck for me to try to turn around in this small area. I did it, and I was like on mounds of snow and ice, and at one point I actually felt like the tractor was like tilted like sideways, trying to just go around over top of the mound. So then when I got to the place where I dropped off the trailer, the empty trailer, it was a really tight backing scenario. There was a yellow safety rail that was up next to the spot I needed to turn into. There were 2 empty spaces, so I thought I was going to be okay. But in order for me to get into the spaces, I would have needed more swing room in front. And I just didn't have it because of the 10-foot snow mounds. If the snow mounds weren't there, I would have been okay. At one point, I figured, all right, I'm just going to jump the curb across from me and get this sucker in. And it turns out that there were poles there, and I was really glad that, really glad I didn't hit the poles. You know, I couldn't see that there were poles there because of the way the snow was and the angle I was at. When I came in and pulled up, I couldn't see them. So, you know, trying to get out and look a couple times, and people are still trying to fly around me, and I was blocking the whole stinking aisle, and I don't care. And the yard dog, you know, flew by me. But one guy saw me struggling, a KLLM guy, and he came over and he tried helping me, you know, guiding me back, because at the angle I was at, again with the stopping, my air tank, the transmission tank needed to build up a couple times. And that happens. It's not, people think it's an air leak, but that happens in this truck with the cold air. You know, just chemistry and physics. Well, I guess it's physics, not chemistry, but you know, you have atoms and molecules, and like when it heats up, it all bounces around, so the air expands. That's why, like, you have your tires and stuff or balloons, the air will expand, and even metal will like actually expand. And then when the cold comes, the molecules get less active, so they don't bounce around as much, so that's when your tires seem like they're losing air. Same thing happens with the fuel too. Different temperatures are going to affect your fuel capacity, because even the liquid will expand and retract. Bet you guys didn't think that I knew anything about physics, did you? Hey, I was a high school honors student. I got honors in college too. So this really nice KLM driver, he helped me back in, which was good. And then I had to go pick up this trailer, take it to the repair shop. I was able to go bobtail back, but it sucked because normally, because of the 14-hour clock and your bobtail, like, this is one of those great pleasures in life as a trucker when you get to go bobtail, because that means you could go stop off any place and park like a car, you know, places we don't get to. So if I would have had time, I would have went to a mall or a movie or something, and, you know, went and enjoyed myself at a normal place instead of a Walmart. And that's not what happened. I was running out of time on my 14 by this time, so I came back to the original customer that had my broken trailer, and I picked up a load. And by the time I got the load and everything, I had, like, I think 20 minutes left on my 14. So thank God they had good parking here. It was pretty late at night. I don't know, like 6 o'clock at night or something. I'm saying pretty late, but it was late for me because I started earlier. It was like 6:30. And I just realized that since I've been doing this, I've mostly been showing you guys I'm driving days, but that doesn't happen all the time. I've had a lot of dropping hooks. That's not common. That's really not common. This has been kind of a strange week or so. And also remember that I did shut down a couple times for weather, and because of that, I was able to manipulate my schedule a little bit. But I'll show you when I start. Well, I'm going to be teaming soon, so we'll probably set up our own schedule. But somebody asked me about time zones and what do you do, because this was one of those loads that I started in Central Time and I wound up in Eastern Time. This is a tip. I leave my phone set for Eastern Time. My phone has 2 settings on it. Okay. You always need to go by the local time of each customer. The appointments are in local time. My phone has 2 settings. So when I hit the button, up in the corner is my Eastern Time, and then down in the main screen is the local time. That way I always know what the local time is, but you know, sometimes that stuff can change, and if you don't know where the time zones are, you could have, like, seriously, in Kentucky, the Flying J is in Central Time and Fort Knox down the street is in Eastern Time. And I didn't know that. And I almost was late, but I was so paranoid anyway about always being early that I left so early. I'm saying I almost was late, but I really wasn't, because I left so early. But it felt like when I realized that it was in Eastern Time, I got more upset. It upset me. And you get nervous. And when you get nervous, you make mistakes. So if you don't know the time zone of where you're going, and I suggest everybody does this in the very beginning, on every customer in the beginning, research the time zone. Put, you know, Grand Rapids, Michigan time zone, and Google will tell you. You know, also the Rand McNally has the time zones in it. There's a map that shows you where the time zones change. And I had no idea that time zones didn't change for the state. Like, you could have Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, they're all split in half. Like, their time zones all split the states in half. I would have thought that, like, the whole state would have been the one time zone, but that's not the way it works out. So use the map to figure it out. I am going to go do my pre-trip now, so I'll see you in a little bit.